All right, we are coming back in. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulties, everyone, but we are back. Merry Christmas. This is Mark Burnett on the Meade Truth. We are going to talk a little bit about the upcoming elections and things that's going on out in the, as far as some of the things that we're hearing from the Trump campaign, some news that they talked about today. They actually gave us a call this week and asked us to do some things for them. Of course, the party does not, the party itself does not get involved directly in primary campaigns. However, what they did ask us to do, they asked if we could help get some signatures to make sure that to head off any possible chance that we would have a fight to try to remove Donald Trump from the Kentucky primary. I don't think they'll have very much of. I don't think that'll be something that would come up as an issue per se. But I think that it's good to always. It's always good to have things in hand. So while we don't endorse any candidate from the party during the primary, I think it's very important that we do stand up for all of the candidates and their ability to run. If somebody is trying to remove one of our candidates from the ballot, I think it's only fair that we stand up and we all support their right to at least run on the ticket, run on the primary ballot. So I think that it's very fair. I think we would do that for anyone, I think that so there were some signatures going around today, and people were asking for there was not a survey, but a petition, making sure that that we get as many signatures out. I mean, if we can get 10, 20,000 signatures throughout the state of Kentucky, stating that, hey, we do not accept some of this legal tactic. We don't accept lawfare, I think is what I heard the other day. I think that was a great way to put it. It's, you have warfare, but this is lawfare, where they're taking the law and trying to remove one of our candidates. And here's the thing. I believe that if the people want Donald Trump to be the president, if the Republican Party wants Donald Trump to be, if the Republicans out there want Donald Trump to be the candidate, then they should have the right to say so at the ballot. Now, if he was a convicted murderer, or a convicted, that he was convicted of treason or something like that, and through all the appeals and things and had a full due process, then maybe that's a different story that we have to go look at that differently. But in this sense, we all know the story. We all know what's happened, and I don't think that it's right for a political party to try to remove somebody from the ballot in that way. And I would say this happens. This is not just a one-sided thing. I don't think it's right when you do it on either side. I think that if you have something like this, you run on it. The person gets up on the ballot, and you go and run and let people know about what's going on in the background. There may be legal precedent, or there may be a legal avenue that once that person is elected, that hey, this person has a convicted is a convicted felon or what have you, and then the courts can decide whether or not that person can take office. But I don't think you should use this to try to kind of backdoor the political process, and I think that's what we're seeing here with Donald Trump. I know that's what we're seeing. I mean, you all seen it. You know what he said on January 6th. You've seen the videos. I believe we all feel the same way. So at least on the Republican side of things. And of course, on the Democrat side, they just don't, there's a lot of Democrats that just don't like him. And so they're not going to ever see that he didn't incite the crowd. He did say, "Hey, let's go down and protest at the Capitol," but he never said go inside. He never said go in and try to take out anybody. Never did that. Where's that video? Where's that audio? They don't have it, but they want to insinuate that's what it said. And we've heard way worse. We've heard actual senators and actual representatives, sitting senators, actually asking people to go out and attack people. So what do you say? I mean, how do you say, hey, no, this is not a political thing. It's very political. So anyway, so we were fine. I mean, I was, we put it out there to say, hey, people go out and do some signatures. So you may have been asked today to sign a petition, for, to help head that off. And I think that's something that we as, Republicans, and or Democrats, I'm sure there's Democrats that have signed the petition as well. To say, hey, listen, this is we're not for this lawfare in our elections. So let's put them on the ballot. Let's go vote for them. I think that the more they try to do this, the more it pushes people towards Donald Trump. And I would say that Donald Trump had some very great policies, and that's why so many people liked him, and that's why I think that he's probably going to win this election. I think he's going to win the primary, and I think that he's going to prevail in October unless they can do some sort of end around, and I think that's what scares them. So anyway, that's my opinion. That's what I'm seeing. As we move forward, we're going to, continue to watch that. But there was a petition going around. It is actually for the Donald Trump campaign. So if you had any fears about signing it, because there have been a few of these going around, there was a legitimate one going around over the last 24, 48 hours, and it was actually requested by the Trump campaign. So those signatures went out. We've got probably 50, 60. 70 signatures within a couple of hours. So it's that just tells us that Donald Trump is very popular. People are anxious to vote for him, especially the more we move closer to the election, and as well as we move, we see more of these antics coming out of these blue states. So anyway, so that's one thing that's coming up and moving on. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, we hear a lot of words going around, and specifically they want to call Republicans fascists a lot. Anybody that's conservative is a fascist, and I'm like, I don't think they understand what that word actually means. And so I urge everyone. There's a gentleman, I think his name is, let me see. I don't want to butcher this. I'm going to go try to find it real quick. I don't know if I can find it on YouTube here or not, but let me see if I can't, pull up another YouTube. Well, I'm trying to get there. And normally I have my laptop, but I'm working on Steve's rig today. So this is, there we go. And I'm going to look through some videos here real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm not going to show you the videos, but I may play some audio for you if I can get it to come through. But let me see if I can get this real quick. I want to get the person's name correct first before I move on too deeply. So this person's name is Ryan Chapman. I'm not sure what his background is, but it seems that he talks a lot about political psychology, gets into what the meanings of nationalism, socialism, fascism, democracy, identity politics. He talks a lot about these things. I've just been introduced to him, so I don't know a lot about his background. But what I did like was he had this. He did a video on what is fascism, and I was intrigued by it. I was like, that's exactly what I always thought it was. And in this video, again, I'm not showing it because then we would have to deal with how long to keep it running and such. But I'll just kind of give you a summary of it. But basically, if you take Marxism, okay, and you take Marxism and you go through Karl Marx to Lenin, and then to Stalin and Mao, that's one line of communism. And that communism was, or Marxism. And that was a line that was more built around collectivism and socialism, specifically more quote unquote communism. Then, but a lot of people have come to use the term fascist as though it's some sort of ultra right wing thing, and it's actually not. It's actually another line of the left wing, and he explained it very well. I encourage everyone to go out and watch this. It's called What is Fascism? It's by, like I said, Brian Chapman. It's on YouTube. He posted it. It's been out there for about a year, so a little over about a year and a half, actually. I wish I'd come across this a long time ago, because this is something that I've wanted to kind of talk about. What is Marxism? What is fascism? What is socialism? And how do these things fit into the modern politic? How have those things developed? So fascism, and there's a lot of people who don't consider Hitler to be a fascist, because they said they didn't like Marx. Right? Hitler hated Karl Marx in the end, right? But he did not, and this is coming from Mr. Chapman's point here, and from this What is Fascism? I want to make sure I give that credit over and over again, because this was my thought on what fascism was, but he's explained it, and I want to encourage people to go and look at that. So and he gets way more in depth than I do. He does a much better job than I could ever do to explain it. So I don't want to even try to get into too much of that, but I wanted to just give you enough to say go look at it. And so what I found was that so he shows that how fascism is actually just a branch. So you have the communism, which is the Lenin and the Mao line, and then you have I can't remember the gentleman's name, the person's name that he referenced, but there's a step in there before it gets to Mussolini and Hitler. And he even points out that it's always been controversial to call Hitler a Marxist, because he swore that he hated Marxism and hated Karl Marx, but he did adhere to this line, which talks about how do you develop what they called the national myth, and so they created this myth for people to rally around. And it's very similar to what you see today with like climate change and things, where you create these myths that people rally around, and then it doesn't matter if it's true, because then you're going to try to make it true through media, through propaganda and things like that. And that's exactly what we see. You see, you have to disconnect. If you watch this, it'll show you that you have to kind of disconnect people from their past, and you have to rally them around this myth that you've created. And then And then you're just propping up this myth until people believe it, until it becomes true. And that's, that is actually a Marxist point. If you go back and look at Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto, I believe is the name of if I remember right. And that's what he talked about. He talked about how do he talked about it from a class standpoint, and what Mussolini and what fascism does is takes that and points everything to these myths, which is it's a similar line. It's just that you're not doing it based on class. You're doing it based on specific myths, whether it's nationalism, like the Nazi Party was the National Socialist Party. You had Mussolini basically was a fascist party in Italy, but they shared common ground. They were very, very closely related, and that's why they were so close as far as allies go in World War II, and how they were taking on the world. And they were trying to bring up the, well, obviously Hitler was trying to bring up the German state, while Mussolini was trying to bring up the Italian state, the new Rome, basically. So anyway, I just encourage you to go watch that. I don't know if I can bring it up and see if I can get it to play a little bit. I don't know if I don't have I'm not logged in here, so I don't know if it's going to show me any kind of ads or anything, but we're going to try to play a little bit of this, see if I can get the audio to come through. And I hear it in my ears. So I don't know if you're hearing it out there.
So today's video is going to be answering one question and one question only. And that is, what is fascism? Fascism has to be a strong contender for one of the most loosely understood words in the political lexicon. And in my opinion, that's probably not going to be changing anytime soon. But if you're someone that wants to develop a tighter understanding of it, this video is going to be targeted for you. To date, there have only ever been two governments that have even remotely uncontroversially been considered fascist. And those are the governments of Italy and Germany, established between World War I and World War II. Calling Germany fascist is slightly controversial, but I'm not going to get into that here. In my opinion, Nazi Germany was fascist, and I think that will become clear as I talk about it in the video. But either way, it shouldn't change my conclusions. You should be able to theoretically drop Germany from my analysis here, and my conclusions should still hold up. But I will talk about Germany in this video. So I'm going to mostly cover Italy first and Germany second, but I will to some extent go back and forth between the two for the sake of comparison. To the surprise of no one, this video will get dark. I'm not going to show anything very graphic, but I'm also not going to intellectually shy away from the subject matter either. And the subject matter will get dark, especially when we cover Germany. So if you're trying to, go on a picnic or something after this, this might not be the video for you. But for the rest of us, we're going to cover Italy first and Germany second, and then at the end, we're going to circle out and see what we can say about fascism based on that. And yeah, that's the plan. So we're going to go back to...
So I've got the video coming up here, so I think I can actually show it to you now. Let me see if I can get this to break down better in the window. Oops, I got to do a little bit of something here. Let me see if I can move that over there, and we can take that to full screen again and go from there to see what that looks like. Oh, it's really bad. Unfortunately, it's not made to go into a big window, so I have to shrink this window down. There we go. And I just want to make him, I don't want to go full screen. That's the problem. I just want to make my screen bigger. Let's see if I can make this bigger so I can actually show it to you guys. Sorry again for the technical difficulties as I'm trying to work through this. And I will see if I can't make that. I'm trying to pull it out so I can actually make it larger. Maybe I just have to shrink this window down a little bit. No, wrong window. That might be why I'm having problems. I'm in the wrong window. That happens sometimes. I'm in the window, but I just can't. How do I increase the size? Well, I may not be able to. I thought I would be able to. Let's see. Maybe this works. All right, let's try this.
To the time and the place
There we
where
go.
fascism was invented, which was interwar Italy.